Welcome to the 2022 SK Award night. What I do usually is just do a welcome, some of the stats, and then what we do is we have 3 talks, 10 or 15 minute talks. Usually they're really fantastic talks, really inspirational. Then we'll have the Patupaiarehe Award, Tararua Mountain Award, and then we'll have the main awards of the night, which is the SK Main Range certificate handout. Now I always like to say there's a few things you probably can say about the SK. One is that it's essentially a Wellington tramping route. We're following in the footsteps of great adventurers that have done this route for many years. It's not a running route per se, we're all Wellingtonians and all New Zealanders who have trodden the path of this amazing journey from Putara to Kaitoke. So, like a lot of things in life, if you're standing on the footsteps of a great tradition, it's got mana. And I really feel that SK's got that real gravitas because it's not something recently invented. It's like the Bob Graham round, that's just built up in tradition. The SK is the same thing. We have many years, decades of mountain warriors that have left work on an evening after work and done the route in 48 hours. Now what happened was, in the early days, there was attempts at breaking sub 24 hours in 1988. There was an attempt, and subsequently, many years, there was this mythical 24-hour beast that they really thought they possibly could crack. Then it took the great man Colin Rolfe in 1995, who sadly passed away, and he's been a great loss to the mountain community because he was such an inspiration and a visionary for these epic events, and people were following his footsteps. In 1995, he cracked it. So in 1995, the benchmark was set. Now that sort of benchmark was quiet for quite a few years, and then this crazy Yorkshire guy came over from England, and his gregarious, outgoing nature and enthusiasm really ignited the local scene, I felt. His name was Chris Swallow. He was a great friend of all of ours, and we dearly miss that guy. Think about him a lot. He sorely missed his gregarious enthusiasm and an encouragement of others has really set the scene. So he read about Colin Rolfe and he went, I'm going to do this, I'm going to crack this with my mate, Lawrence Pitcock. So in 2013, they also had a crack, and we were, a few men, Tom Crumpton and a couple of others, were up there putting out food parcels out for them, and it was an atrocious day. And I was thinking, these guys are absolutely nuts at the time. And now I'm sort of hooked on it. And a lot of people are sort of getting the buzz and the vision I think Chris thought of at the time, which was essentially a Bob Graham-esque concept, a 24-hour concept that your average person, well, main range isn't for me an average person, it's more of someone who's determined but with that athletic ability, because you're not going to get down there in 24 hours unless you've got that speed, that athleticism that you need. But it's something that can be achieved with determined fit people, and he that was his legacy. I feel like now with the website, about 34,000 hits over about 7 years. It's going great guns from all around the world. Potentially the SK can become the Bob Graham round of New Zealand, given we keep these formal nights going, the website, and it will encourage. And it's just magic when you see these people just get inspired and do something amazing beyond their ability. It really makes it all worthwhile, and it's great to be a part of. So on that light, there's now 33 people that have done the main range SK, part of the club, sub 24 club. It's a phenomenal achievement, and very impressive. But we'll do the awards at the end of the night for that. So what I usually do is I just do a quick summary of the other 2 SKs associated with in the Tararuas. We have the main range, which is the Holy Grail, but we also have what I like to call the beginner's mortal man SK, something for the people that you probably don't have to be a super athlete or fantastic, really strong mountain man to achieve, and I consider that the SK valleys. I've had a crack at it myself 3 times, and on the 3rd time I did it in full go, and I just narrowly missed the 25, and now I appreciate how hard these things are. They really are tough. The SK Valleys is tough. It's for the mortal man though, you can do it. And in that light, there's 72 people that have now competed at SK Valleys, and that's pretty impressive. You know, 72 people have gone under 24 hours. That's on the website. I'll just do a quick roundup of who they were this year. Gwen Riley, Emma Passini, 2342, Stu Michael Joe. Sorry if I mispronounced your name, Stu. He's off to UTMB, by the way. This year, so well done, Stu. He's a machine, 1803. Alex Jones, Paul Kjurtsen, 2020. Joe Bendo, Den Magley, 2327. Sam Edridge, 1401. There was Diego Jack and Bernard, 1701. Sam Hanby, 1346. Martin Seedy, I think did 17 hours something. Martin from Czech Republic. Forgive me if I miss anyone out there, but I think we'll have to. I haven't forgot about him. And then there's this guy just rocks up, does some training sessions. Went, oh yeah, no, I might give it a crack. He's got a video. He rocks up to the huts, just casually chatting away, no tiredness whatsoever. This guy is pure class, and he knocks it out, and you won't. Martin McCrudden really can't believe it. And Sam Hansby, they put 13 hours to quick. It's not that quick when you do 10 hours quickly. So if you drive from Ekatahuna down to Wellington, you realise the Tara's quite long, aren't they? To do that in 10 hours quickly, that shows that's international pedigree. And Dan's overseas at the moment, competing for a shot at Western States. I don't think he's trying for UTMB, but he just won, not the Canyons, it was a race Laxonomy, just won last weekend. So he's going to try and make waves in the big leagues, all those fast guys. I just watched that Zagama the weekend actually, so the level of European trail running is phenomenal. So, there's the SK Valleys, so anyone out there that wants to begin their journey of a 24-hour SK, I consider that. You can stop wherever you want, there's some huts, eat, there's access out. The start of SK Valleys is something that you need to be aware. It's not like your average punter, you've got a river valley, you need to have your wits about you, it's not obvious the episode that I'm running up. So do your research, ask the right people, and as these numbers grow, we don't want to make light of it as a mountain range, and everyone here has been terrorists, have a healthy respect for the New Zealand wilderness, and we all know if you don't pay it the respect it deserves, it will kick you in the arse, and a lot of us have had close calls, so always give the New Zealand wilderness the credit it deserves. Rivers, hypothermia, just making the right decisions. If you treat it with the right respect and you make the effort to get the right skills, it'll just open up a whole world to you. Most people in this room have those skills, but if we're going to encourage this route, we always have to be aware. It's not a case of just going, mate, it's going to be fine. 72 people have done it. It's the hard yards. People have made the real hard yards to achieve these goals. And it gets the Kaitoke car park of glory. We all know what that feels like. We've done it. It's a magic thing at 3 AM. Right, and the next cab of the rank, or the next SK I'd like to talk about quickly, was the one that the famous Graham Dingle did in 1985, the Tarn SK. Amazing. He did that in 18 hours 15. He stopped at the Smith shelter, but still amazing and a visionary. You know, to just decide no one was doing that stuff then. This guy, and he became a fantastic adventurer in New Zealand's annals and a mountaineer. Really, I've read a few books about Tara Mountain and how he was known for running around long runs, but to have that visionary status and to do it, prove it can be done, that's really set the standard for the next SK. So now there's 28 members who's done the Tarn SK, which is Putara along the Dundas Ridge. You head left onto the Tarn Ridge along the main mountain axis, well not the main range, but the eastern side of the axis is the Tarn Ridge. That's the Powhut descent into the valleys of doom, valleys of suffering at the end. Some people would say they prefer the Tarn SK. However, I think the main range with its just relentless tops will take the mantle of the Holy Grail, of the main route. So we've got 28 members in sub-24 in time now. We've had Stu Michael John again. He did that and SK Valleys this year, 2301. Well done, Stu. This is really the big league now. We're getting to the top, and I've done it in 2 days, and it's absolutely brutal. And then we had the legendary trio of Brad Houghton, Josh, and Joe Murphy, 2235. So tried. He did it twice. He did it first time, and he went up cone. He kind of got lost a little bit on cone, and so he wants to go back there for a second attempt and find his soul that was wandering around, apparently in circles on the cone ridge looking for his.
He just went back after we made it easier for him.
But he found his soul, and he got to that glory. And Brad's someone that just has obviously got awesome speed, determination, the mountain beard, and got the Mountain Fashion Award for that day. The shades, the monkey shades. So well done, Brad, and it's been great actually seeing your journey from the first day you turned up to one of my runs. Tony Forshaw, your partner, wonderful Brooke, and taking you to the Rimatuckers, and just moved on to the next levels, and just keep foraging forward. You're just obviously really strong, and yeah, you got some mates who are even madder than you down south, I know. And the legendary Jean Beaumont in 2259 also completed the Times K. I think Jean possibly hasn't got the valleys, so she hasn't got the premium membership.
Jean also did 2 this summer.
Yeah, she did 2 this summer. I think Jean Beaumont, the name, some people know that name. She's done amazing stuff overseas.
She's done the 1500s and
You're born with premium membership. You'll love it. So, oh yeah, I've got stats on the FKT for the fastest for times. Tim Sutton. He couldn't make it tonight because his daughter's got COVID, he's isolating. So he's done a very fast 17:23. Very fast. It's going to be hard to beat, but possibly get Dan Jones on that. But then if he does it, no one can beat it. It's not more. And then Katie Wright and Eleanor Arndt, fantastic ultra running ladies of the mountains. What they did with the Ruahine FKT was phenomenal. The length of the Ruahines, they did that in 36 hours, but they also did a time, 22:36. And apologies if I've forgotten anyone in any of those stats, but yeah, I've written on my envelope, so the score was there. So I may have missed you, but sorry, mate. So what we'll do now, we'll do the main range stuff at the end, and what I'll do now is hand over to our first speaker of the night. I'm not sure who that's going to be. Yeah, Mike, you ready to go? Yeah, so Michael Stewart. We all know Michael by now. He's redefined. You can't really say what he does. I was there at the end though, so I was proud to be a part of what he did last summer. It's a real mountain energy that night. It was like being in a nightclub or something. Lights everywhere. But yeah, I'll pass over the mic. But
Tell us if the mic's working, or we need to turn that up a little bit, or is that just for recording?
No, it's just for recording. Yeah, so do you want to put that in? So Michael Stewart isn't from around here, but he's made Putara's best friend. So I'll let you explain what he did, but probably most of you know what happened last summer, but makes one SK Valleys not seem that bad. So, I can't really explain it, but it's each SK back-to-back main range, tarn and valleys with no stops, maybe a micro nap beside a tree. Just, I would consider it. I mean, I talk to people about it. Would this be one of the most epic endurance, things that have been done in New Zealand in recent years? You'd have to talk to mountaineers and other people, but for me, it's just beyond explanation. But we'll let Michael attempt to explain how he did it.
Yeah, right.
I wish I'd did something now. But anyway, I guess for me the triple started when I first went to Tararua. So it was like 2018. I was looking on dot maps trying to find trails in the mountains or what I can do, and I found some good tracking Tararuas and a bit of Googling leading to Chris's website, and I found the SKs, and so I had a bit of search around, found the BSR group, and that's when I got introduced to the community that's involved with Tararuas, and I think it's part of the magic of it. And Tim Sutton gave me a call. I had a good chat with him about what to do on the main range, and I was just blown away with because I've never met him, and he's just taken his night to explain to me how to traverse this range. And so yeah, I did that in December 2018. I got to the end, and I'd gone into it very naively thinking 80k, it's sub 18 hours. It's only 80k, so I barely got under 24 hours. And I just remember just sitting in that car park thinking, we're gonna come back. I want to do this there and back, and then how about the other two? So at the same time, I decided I was going to do the main range double, and I also started thinking about the triple then. I didn't think the triple then anywhere near as hard as it turned out to be. Nowhere near. So I did the main range double. I was like, oh yeah, that was really hard, but it was two main ranges, and the Tarns and the valleys are all easy, right? So it's not going to be that bad. I think it was a year, maybe 2 years later, I had a crack at doing the triple. I managed a main range and then bombed out. So same year, I was like, right, I've got to come back and finish saying. So I did the Tarn valleys, and once again, very naively, Tarn's going to be reasonably hard, but then valleys, it's easy. And got my ass handed to me. Got very lost, and that's when I realised, shit, the triple is much harder than I first thought. And whereas I originally thought, ideally I had support for it, I then knew, there's just no way I can do it without it. And that's where the community of the Tararua really came into play. So I was like, right, I want to have one more crack at it. I just can't face doing it. At the end of the main range, my friends are marching. Yeah, the marching. Freaking hate it. I can't stand doing that again. So I'm only going to have one more crack at this, and then that's it. So yeah, just put the call out. Who wants to jump on board? And friend Ali, she was going to do the valleys with me. She was very good at that. I'll put a stand up at the Tarn. And I was quite happy with the main range by myself, because I figured I didn't want to have someone going too fast for me and hurting down that main range. So yeah, the plan was set. I was kind of trained for it, but not really. As trained as I'd ever be, I guess. And yeah, it ended up, it couldn't have been any better. All the people came together. That was amazing. The weather for it, the weather window just opened up. I didn't think it was going to. There was a couple that we were looking at, and then the second one was just perfect. And yeah, everything came together great. So get it out on it. I did the main range, kept it reasonably easily paced, but I remember about you're going pretty easy, but I still feel pretty fast. So I still got the Tarn and valleys to go. So yeah, trekking along that, but it was great, body felt pretty good. Everything was going great, got the marches, James Owen ran in. Run out the last march with me, which was actually magic. I don't like that piece of track. And pulled out that parking lot, and there's my partner there, and my dog, and I sat down, had a good feed. Kyle turned up, so it was sweet, fresh pair of legs, head back out, felt really good. Felt really good at that turnaround, and I was feeling pretty stoked about it all. And yeah, so started off, and I think it went pretty good. And got in pretty easy moving, and then we were going up. What's that park called? From Tararua Flats. From Coconut Flats. Yeah, it's kind of like the wheels fell off a bit there, and Kyle had to put like the hard word in, like, keep moving this pace, mate, and we're going to be doing like at least 30 hours.
I told you if we didn't hurry up, I was going to finish around.
So yeah, it was a low point, but yeah, like stepped up there, and we got up to the little seat area there, and Sam had like dropped off like the sponsor like Coke and Red Bull and chips, and there's some watermelon there, and like that was an amazing like pick me up. So I had that carried on, and I think we picked up a little, pace picked up a little bit, didn't it?
You flew.
It was a Red Bull, I think.
It was the fastest you've gone all day.
Yeah, so yeah, that was real great, and got up Holdsworth. I think we just passed the hut and motoring along, and then this head torch looked from the side of the thing, and then these two people like buzzing on the side of the mountain, which was a bit of a surprise there. Yeah, got up there. I can't really remember too. Like, did we go on the tops or did we go around?
We went on the top.
No, I mean like that part where you can skite along, where you can go over the broken axe.
Oh no, we saw it.
Yeah, sidled around, went up, and apparently it was sunrise going halfway along Tarn Ridge. Yeah, so we've had a couple of naps getting up there, yeah.
You had a nap on the summit of North Camp.
He's just sleepwalking at this point.
not yet, that came later. But yeah, that morning, like I'd lost one of my water flasks, so we were a little bit short on water. I hadn't told Kyle that I lost that water flask, so he was unaware of the situation, and it was fucking hot. Like, it was real hot, and we soon ran out of water along the tops. So getting to Ratify Hut was pretty amazing because my mouth felt like shit. But yeah, it was very nice to hit that, and I felt reasonable getting down from there, really. Like, I got water, got down, and Ali and Marie Goldfinch were at the last bridge, so it was really good to see people that I knew, because yeah, like fresh legs again, and so like a bit of a boost got into the ton, and I didn't feel dead yet, like definitely tired and sore, but yeah, like it was like kind of like a realization, like shit, like this is the turnaround. Like once I turn around from here, like you're going to get to the end. It's like fucking shit was happening. Like it was that point that I was like, it's actually going to be a thing. Like this is going to be done. So get out there, I'm feeling sore, tired, but funny enough awake at the same time. Had a really good break. I think I was there for quite a while. Got heaps of good food in, and then turned around, off, running again at the start. This is great. That's right, I've got to climb back up that junction. So, yeah, straight up the junction, and then, like, that was a bit of a trudge. Down the Roaring Stag, felt pretty good there, and then pretty much from there on, it just was rapid degradation. That's been idea, like, we got as much of that river section done without a break to, like, try and the light was fading fast. I think we turned on like 4 o'clock, so quite a huge amount of light consumed the speed that I could do. So yeah, we went along there. There's naps at every hut, and like the naps were getting pretty sore at that stage. Like our knees would be like really aching as soon as you stop. Once you start moving, they're good again. So yeah, like napping it there, napping a couple of times between huts, like 5-10 minute naps. Trudging along. I'd be like sometimes running, and then I'd look at Ali walking. What's happening here? Like, I was running, but I weren't moving at running speed at all. Which was kind of like demoralising, but we were still moving, which was the main thing. The memory's not really not so great from the valleys. It really isn't.
Tell everyone about the YMCA.
Oh yeah, so funny enough, like halfway along when
you're on one of the trails and you're going along the river and you're up reasonably high, everyone thinks there's nothing down there. But no one fucking knows. There's actually a big YMCA complex down there. There's a nice big, like dirty fucking area, and then all these like little buildings that like probably like dormitories or something. It might be magical or something. No, I can see it. But it was there. It was there. I swear, I wouldn't mind going and trying to find that. But yeah. Too much information. Crazy little animals running around everywhere. So yeah, cranked along there. No, we didn't crank along there. We crawled along there. Got to Holdsworth finally. That took a very long time to Haast. Is that right? Artifacto. Thank you. I had a good nap there. And I actually managed to like almost doze off, and then the alarm went off to get up, and I try to start moving, and everything just fucking, and I'm just screaming obscenity, not knowing that this poor old dude that's hiked in, and it's like, what the fuck's going on? Ali's like, don't worry. So yeah, Marie jumped off there. Ali and I like trudged on, and after that nap, like, I had this crazy like surge. I was like, I can fresh as shit. Like, yeah, I'm gonna have a little run. Yeah, I'm gonna have a little run, and then I just took off. I was like maybe foolish and like sprint along, people parking, and I'm sprinting past. I was like, oh, I'm gonna too hard. Like, no worries. And yeah, sure enough, I burned out again. Back to a crawl. Ali caught up, and then we trudged along there, got to Big Flat. And I was paranoid because when I did the Tarn Valleys, going down from Pigs Flat down the Putara to the Tararua Flats, there's an old track that I took. I think Chris has taken it, haven't you? Chris, you've taken that track too? The old track?
Not the old one.
Yeah, get lost down there.
Down the river.
I was paranoid about doing that. I was like, nah, we've got this sorted. Got down there. I was stoked to be on the right track. It felt much better going down than it did going up the cob, that's for sure. Yeah, finally got down there. One big thing, I did not take enough variants of food. Oh my gosh. I had all the same stuff, but it was so simple. I was just looking at else, but I'll pay for yours. Like, Ali gave me like peanut butter and some good chip wrap. Mate, completely different from what I had. So yeah, we got down there, and from there was the trudge again, and then two people, sorry I can't remember their names, two people ran in, and get us to start the Putara, that's Haast. Yeah. Yeah, and they brought in more food, I think it's like an LMP, and yeah, it was glorious. And we had a good little trot, didn't we? Yeah, we had a good little trot. And we had a good trot out for a bit until I burned out again. I realised there's still a good, 10K to go? But we had that little trot and then trudged again, and then Kyle ran again. That's right. You met us about with the Swiss Creek, or?
Just below the puffer.
Yeah, just below the puffer, yeah. Puffer was hard. It was so close but so far. At this stage, I think we're like, what, close to 80 hours in?
87.
Yeah. Yeah. I do remember like, I was busting for a prince. I was just like, oh, you guys just go ahead. I'll catch up. They're like, you're gonna have like a snooze and just like catch us. I was like, yes. They're like, oh, we'll stand here, but we were still watching you. Anyway, yeah, let me have a slash, and then carrying on. And then I think Ali was like, well, let's go. I was like, no, I'm swimming. So I think I got allowed to have like a 40-second power nap. at the top, and then it was back to trudging, and I just had in my head, if we keep walking, like, we're just never, like, I'm never going to get there. I can't do it. But I was like, no, you're not running. And it was like maybe like 3K out, like, which is like 40K Tararua. I was like, nah, that's we'll just go slow. We'll run. And then Kyle, me, and there was another, and yeah, ran out, and it felt so good. And yeah, crossed that line, and yeah, I'm still unpacking it really, like, because for me the triple was saying that was like, oh yeah, that'd be cool good, and it just became like this obsession. I didn't think I was ever actually going to be able to, and I was terrified from this conception that someone else is going to do it before me. To be honest, like, I really wanted to do it, but I don't think I could stand doing it if someone else would do it. Like, it's already something to be done, so it's just hard. I had to do something special. So I just wanted it so badly, and I knew that this was it. Like, I was either doing it or I weren't. And like, it happened. But like, it only happened because of the community, like 100%. Like, there's no way I could have done it, like, me myself. It wouldn't have happened. I would have done the main range, maybe maybe. But yeah, like, we all talk about the magic of Tararua, and it's a magical place. But for me, honestly, like, from the start, it's been the community. It's an amazing community. Like, the running community is amazing anyway, but I think there's something special about the BSR, and that's mainly the guys who are involved, guys and girls who are involved with the Tararuas. And yeah, I've got so much thanks for it, because I wouldn't have got what I wanted without it. So yeah.
Thanks, Michael. And yeah, I felt a bit remiss there at the start to say that and explain. There might be people online that don't actually know what he's done. Because I know, I just assume everyone knows, but it was 17,000 metres of elevation, 17,086 hours non-stop mountain travel. With every step is not easy in terrors. We know it's not like running along a trail. It's just brutal. So it's beyond epic. So just as long as everyone knows what Michael achieved, there was no articles in the paper and stuff, and yeah, really it's a benchmark. And the annals of New Zealand endurance, I'd say it's up there with Graham, you know, those big moments in history. So really amazing, Michael. So next person to hand on to will be the next speaker. And is that Andy? Yeah, Andy Carruthers is good friend. Oh, no, I was just going to say, I think the other thing I love about the mountain community is the bond, the friendship. I think there's nothing like a bond forged in adversity. We've got friends in life, in work, and acquaintances, but the friendship ones derive when your lives depend on each other are the strongest. And in the wilderness, you really forge strong bonds. So the friendships that come out of the mountain community are very strong. And in their lives, Andy does lots of, he gets, I don't know how many leave passes he gets a year, but he certainly makes use of them. There you go, mate. Andy Carruthers will be talking about one of his South Island missions, as I understand it.
Right.
Yep.
Let's just start 1987 protocol production.
So I've got a little story for you about a mountain adventure that includes some alpine kits, a few COVID casualties, a lost pair of shoes, and some country music. So 6 years ago, I was on holiday, summertime, I was sitting at the beach, and every week I was reading these just incredibly inspiring stories about this mountain adventure on this route called the Tararua S-K. And I was reading about Paul and Marta and Tim and Chris and Jean and many others, and I was just completely blown away by the adventures that they were having. So over the next few years, with a few friends, we went chasing ridgelines in the Tararua and the Ruahine ranges, and we clocked up some miles and some pretty cool footage. Then a couple of years ago, I got given 2 copies of this book called The Great Unknown, written by a guy by the name of Jeff Spearpoint. At that stage, I had no idea who Jeff Spearpoint was, but I've come to kind of find out that he's like New Zealand's guru of backcountry mountain adventures in the Southern Alps. He's an absolute legend. And in this book, he's written up 70 incredible journeys that he's done in the Southern Alps. And I was thrilled to see that he even mentions the SK. So one of the trips he kind of compares to the SK, which is a route that he's done himself many years ago. So I'm planning a new trip. I found this trip that Jen had done years and years ago with a good buddy of his. And this is in Mount Aspiring National Park in the kind of the northern area of Mount Aspiring. Jeff and his buddy had done this trip in winter in the snow. It was kind of like a week-long trip, and we were planning to do a 3-night or 4-day fast packing trip. So I started researching this, and pretty quickly found out that this trip was going to be like 60+ hours of travel, including a fair bit of bush fighting in the west coast river valleys, and so it was all looking a little hard, so we were looking for a plan B. I was looking at this map and looking at the ridge lines and just going, man, I don't want to travel in these rivers, I want to be on the tops. So I've read the story about the Alpine kids. Now these kids had done that incredible journey where they'd traversed the Southern Alps from Arthur's Pass all the way through to the Divide near Milford, and they'd stayed as close as possible to the top of the main divide. And as they were going through this particular part of Mount Aspiring National Park, this was the route that they followed along the tops. So they started at Haast Pass, and they've been able to go through to the Wilken, pretty much staying on the tops. And I started doing some research about this trip, and the Alpine kids were the only people that I could find that had actually travelled this section. I'm sure others had, but these were the only ones I could find anything about. So I reached out to them, and they raved about it. They were like, the tops travel is just beautiful. We've got this 10-day weather window. It's fabulous. You should absolutely go. And so I was like, yeah, awesome. We're going to the tops. Then we find this sucker. So this is Mount Doris, and this is like towards the end of their top section. And the Alpine kids, well, they're university kids. They're like full-on climbers. And to get down off here, they had to do a couple of 30-meter rappels. So, and I wasn't going to be carrying a rope and killing myself on a mountain. So we needed to find another option. But we had 5 of us lined up for this trip. So many of you know Marta. Josh is a legend of the Kawikas, mountain man. He's in the region next year for the Legion. Paul is he's a mountain man, GODZONE. And my mate Adam, who's just starting to kind of explore the mountains is absolutely loving the Tararua range. So we're 4 weeks out before our trip's meant to start. I come down with COVID. 2 weeks out, Marta and Paul come down with COVID. And Sounds Ear, who were meant to be flying from Christchurch down to Wanaka, reschedule our flight so it no longer connects with our Wellington to Christchurch flight. So it's kind of starting to unravel a little bit. And then Josh finds this photo of the first of the main peaks that we're meant to be traversing. And suddenly we're kicking ice axes and crampons. So this is a flyover of our planned route. So you've got Haast Pass down here, and then this, where the yellow line goes, that's the main divide. So it's the main route on the Southern Alps. And then here we're dropping down into the Blue River, and we're going to go up over Haunted Spur, so we can miss Mount Doris. And then we join up with the Gillespie Pass circuit, which is a pretty cool tramping route down in Spira. So 1 week out, our weather's just looking epic. We've got no wind on the tops, and we had 3 routes planned. We had this tops route, and then we had a B plan if it was windy, and then a C plan if it was windy and wet. But our A plan was looking fantastic. And we've been out shopping, buying some new gear. Got some new shoes, got a new pack and a footprint for the fly, so I didn't have to carry the tent, so it could go nice and light. And then probably 36 hours out, Adam becomes a COVID close contact and can't travel. We managed to convince Sounds Ear to delay the flight because we make up about half the passengers on the flight. So that was the first. And then my brand new shoes are stuck in the courier depot because of COVID. So I'm having to go with old shoes. And then 12 hours out, just as Josh is about to leave Hawke's Bay and drive to Wellington for his flight, becomes a COVID close contact and he can't travel. So it's Marta and I jumping on the plane. Marta's still recovering from her COVID. And this is what we find.
When you check on the map before going, you see just green and a lot of contour lines. That's a bit worrisome, yeah.
Bummed. I was seriously bummed.
And it looked gnarly.
Hey, Scott. Oh, well, I gotta know with you, what?
You think I'm crazy?
We get to the base and then we go around.
So, that, I think we all know that feeling, when you get above the bush line and you see the ridge line just open up. And the weather is awesome. You've got this just great adventure, sitting before you. This was just the start of the ridgeline, and in the middle there you've got Mount Burke, and we were hoping to be able to get there that night. The Alpine kids had spent 3 nights travelling this ridge section, but we had fast packing gear going super light, so we're hoping to be able to do this section in just with 1 night and then join on to the rest of the trip. So some pretty cool sections along this ridge. We were told we wouldn't need a road, but it was right at the edge of not needing a road. Some amazing drop-offs, and you definitely wouldn't want to be up there over the wind, but beautiful on a day where we're traveling in this section. So we managed to get along to Mount Burke, and under our headlamps we found a little flat spot to pitch the fly, and this is the next morning we're going to our second second awesome day, and waking up in the morning, I could hear the deer roaring from the valley below, being April. Might have found a few snowberries for us as we were wandering back up to the ridge. And then we got to Mount Cameron, which was the really steep looking cone from a distance. And we've been eyeing this up with a bit of trepidation. I thought we could see a bit of a line, but there were definitely some super exposed bits. Dropped our packs and went for a little bit of a recce, and sat down and had a little powwow and made sure that we were okay. And we decided we'd give it a go. And it was super gnarly.
I was saying it was quite gnarly.
Yeah, like it
windy
was.
as well.
What's that?
It looks windy too.
It's not bad. It's not bad. It's just a bit of.
No wonder she wasn't worried about the North Saddle of Matthews.
Yeah, no. It's, and I think one of the really cool things about this ridgeline, and about some of those adventures that you can go and do, is like when you don't know, like when you've never been on sections of a route, or the only route description you have is somebody saying, hey, it's really good. Like it does add to the excitement. Like it definitely. And then once you get over Mount Cameron, you get to this. This is Mount Stewart, which has this
No problem.
rock face like I've never seen before. It's
Cool.
Just hundreds of vertical meters, and in the distance there you've got Lake Wilken. So just orientate yourself. So we were coming down here off Mount Stewart and down into the northern branch of the Blue River. And there's no track, there's no route down here. There's a route description in Lawyer's Guide, and it says watch out. And so going down the river, Marta managed to fall and smash up her hand. This is the closest I got to the prominent deer trail that they described in the route guide. And we had these like vertical moss walls that we had to kind of climb across, and you punch your hands into the moss and kick your foot in. And it was kind of terrifying at times. And eventually we got down there to this side. So, yeah.
She's got a potty mouth.
So this sign was the only thing that vaguely resembled anything that looked. So apparently years ago there was a track there and a route, but it's now no longer. So after a couple of hours of just crawling down through there, finally got to the beautiful river and had a chance to go swim. And evaluate our plan. So we had planned at this point to go up the Blue River and to do some more backcountry off track. But we're pretty beaten up at this stage, so we decided that we would follow a track for the next couple of days and join up with the circuit a little bit of a different way. So this is the flyover of our route. And so we followed our plan up along the tops. This was our camp spot night one, and this is where we turned left instead of turning right, and joined up with the Gillespie Pass circuit. So we camped down here night two, and then scored 2 more beautiful days to go and do the Gillespie Pass circuit. And this is really, really cool country. Just beautiful, a good rugged travel. It's, and Crucible Lake is pretty spectacular. So we This is Siberia hut where we had our last night, and at this point we hadn't seen anybody for 3 days. And it's pitch black. We turn up at the hut and open the door, and there's country music blasting on a speaker. And a work group had flown in a little plane and done a side trip up to Lake Crucible, and are having a fun night at the hut, and we get to share a few stories with them, which was a great last night on our mission. So the Southern Alps, they're amazing, and they're a short plane ride or a ferry ride, and you can get into some wild country there. So I'd definitely encourage it. And I made a little video of our trip. If you're interested in seeing some more video, you can find it on YouTube. And if you do go watch it, love you to subscribe. It helps encourage my little passion of making videos. Sure.
I'm really interested to know what you packed, how you approached packing through.
Yep.
So you didn't want to take a heavy road, but it's still so how do you pack?
So there's a couple of good videos that but super quickly, for that trip, I was carrying about 9 kilos. So you're carrying enough so you can't really run. You can jog some of the kind of the downhill or flat bits where the travel's good. But you're pretty light. I mean, at 9 kilos, you don't feel like you've got much on the back. So basically, I've got the same kit that I'll be travelling on the main range with, except I'll have my super light sleeping bag, and between Lara and I, we carry the flight. So, and you've probably got a similar amount of food. You've got a lightweight cooker, which you wouldn't have on the main range, but the rest of it's kind of the same. Yeah. I mean, on the track. Yeah. So one of the cool things about that ridgeline is that there are these tarns. There are lots of tarns, and then once we got off the ridge, there's just water everywhere. So you never carry more than I don't know, 1 bottle. And on the top, sometimes we'll carry 2 bottles.
And what do you take food?
So for breakfasts and dinners, it's just raddicks, dehydrated meals. So just lightweight, tasty, and then during the day it's just the same as what you're doing on a big day mission. Just got wraps and snack food.
Yeah, mate, legend, awesome. Video as well. Pretty inspiring, and also, if you get an invite for Andy's missions, I'd probably accept it. Yeah, thanks Andy, that was really cool. Wow, trip charts and then a circle of invites now. Yes. He knows to take the deluxe mini bag, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And the next, thanks Andy, the 2 great speeches, and our next speaker, Hamish and he's going to be talking about the GODZONE. He finished in the full course. So welcome Hamish.
Does everyone want a minute to grab a beer and things?
Yeah, does everyone want a break? Like, get a beer or...
We'll dive right in there.
They can probably pop out and grab it.
Oh, good. Oh, yeah. Oh, I know you said it. Especially you might get back out amongst the ladies. Just started. Silly shit, dude. Seems like yesterday. Very bad.
Thought I'd just kick things off, get it moving. Today I'm just gonna give you some insights into this GODZONE thing, like a few of you might have heard about, and share kind of like my experience of what happened this year. This super epic adventure that was GODZONE. Cross, down, no, click it. No? Good to go. Tempo difficulty, so no, it's just the right arrow? Right arrow. Yep. No? Yeah.
Are you an engineer employed by the Red?
It's just I good to go. Okay. Right. So now this is like about points. So I thought I'd just start at the end, and I've got to be honest, it's no car park of glory, but it was pretty good. And I think a few of you here will like recognize the kind of smiles that are on our faces at this point. Sort of like that tired smile. You know, you've seen a few things. You're like pretty relieved that you're finished. But there's a tinge of sadness in there that, you know, like, oh no, it's over a little bit. But then like a deep satisfaction that you know, like, yeah, I made it.
Hamish, the guy on the right looks like he studied in the hide, but his jaw's too tight. So he's got that anticipation of 12 hours of
No, it was pretty great. They gave us a pint here. But finish line. I think the other thing about the finish line is like, you know, you have it, I'm gonna like contradict myself very quickly here. Like, you have it in the back of your mind the whole time, like before you even started. This is where I wanna get to, this is where I wanna be. And it's sort of the same with the SK, right? Like thinking about that car park of Glory at 3 in the morning in that lovely cold gravel.
Sand glory.
This is Sand Glory, yeah. It's uncomfortable. See, also it's a bit of a softer version of the SK.
It's way more people.
Yeah. So this is the finish line. It's a beautiful finish line, but let's roll back a bit and figure out how the heck we got to here. First of all, like, what is GODZONE? It's like an expedition link adventure race, and that involves, you know, tramping, kayaking, mountain biking, pack rafting, and all while having to navigate from A to B. You know, there's no arrows on the. There's no arrows in GODZONE. And you compete in a team, so that adds like a whole nother element, I guess. Teams of 4, and it's always mixed, so you get three males and 1 female. This is my beautiful team here. We've got Alex, Alice, James, and myself. And like GODZONE standards, we're like a super young team. I'm like the grandfather of the team at this point. And the others are like a few years younger, mid-20s. So we had one GODZONE experience prior to this. So Alex had completed the Wilken version a few years back. So yeah, we're pretty green, I guess. That all adds another element to it. And this, yeah, like what was it all about? So this was the 10th year of GODZONE, and to make some sort of big deal about it, they decided to make a traverse course. So normally they start and finish in the same place and do some sort of big loop. This year they're like, nah, we're gonna make it a bit different. We're gonna go coast to coast, GODZONE style. So we started all the way, these things kind of obscure the route a bit, but we started all the way here in Jackson's Bay, at the very southern point that you can kind of get to by road, and then on the west coast it is. And then we ended on the east coast, all the way down here, in a small town called Brighton, which is just west of Dunedin. So one part about GODZONE is that you don't know where you're going to go, and that adds to the adventure. You know, right up until the day before the race, you have no idea. So we get we're in the dark about the whole thing. I started to give you a few little clues, but all we knew before the race started was that we were going to meet in Wanaka, and that the start line was going to be a 3 to 5 hour drive from Wanaka, and we didn't know where the finish line was going to be. But then the day before the course, they gave us, actually sorry, take it back, a week before the course, they gave us this essentially. They gave us a bit of a clue about what we were going to encounter. We didn't know where to start and end with, but they gave us this course planner. And immediately a few things kind of stuck out for us. We were like, what the heck? 155k backdraft. That's going to take a while. And then,
With 2,000 meters of elevation.
How much?
and the fact that it was such a round number kind of made us a little suspicious. What does that really mean? Do they know how much? And the other ones that stood out was this stage 5 trek, 56k at 3,200 meters back. And so, you know, knowing what an SK is like, I was like, oh, it should be this space. But actually, I was like, oh man, that's coming after the 155k back now. And then after a 90k mountain bike, this might be a little trickier than I thought. And then stage 6, pretty monster mountain bike in there, 170 k's. So we kind of figured, like, if we can get to the end of stage 6, I think we're in with a good shot at finishing this thing. Not knowing really anything else about before. But yeah, you can see the monster number down there, 710 k's. I don't think, it doesn't really matter which way you spin that. It's quite a long way. So we thought, oh, we're in for something big here. And we knew kind of roughly what the previous GODZONE courses were. And a lot of them are about 500 to 600 k's. So we're like, right, they've added a few on here. It's going to be, it could be a battle. The prep. The last thing I mentioned was that GODZONE, the course is generally open for about 9 days. So we were probably thinking that we'd be sitting near the end of the 9 days rather than the start. Trying to keep out managing expectations. There's a lot of prep involved in organising a 9-day adventure where you don't know where you're going, you don't know what you're going to be doing, you don't quite know how hungry you're going to be, you don't know what the weather's going to be like. So it involves like a lot of gear, a lot of thinking through like a lot of different situations. And we kind of arrived in Wanaka, the meeting place, about a couple of days before the race was due to start, and with just like everything we could think of to be prepared. And it was just a gear explosion in this little holiday house we were at. The day before the race, in the afternoon, they like kind of do the big reveal, and they hand out the maps. And that's the first time you get to see where you're going to be going for the next 9 days. And it's quite a intense period because you're kind of you're plotting your entire route. You're trying to figure out where you're actually going to try and go and navigate. So we do a lot of things you can see here on these maps. We've got like some yellow highlighters, kind of indicating where you think the best route's going to be. We've got some red lines, which help quite a bit when you're fatigued. The red line is actually showing magnetic north, and when you've got a compass and you haven't slept for like 5 days, trying to do like a magnetic inclination adjustment is challenging. So that helps a lot. We also had to test our gear. Being an adventure race, you want to go light and fast, and as much as possible. It doesn't always really work out, but we have one tent, which is compulsory, and we have to fit 4 people in there. I guess that's by choice, but it felt like we had to do that. So we also prepared food for each stage in advance. So had to kind of think about, oh man, how long do we estimate each of these legs are going to take? And then how much food am I going to need in each of those legs? It's a bit of a nightmare. There's so much thinking. I couldn't wait for the race to begin, honestly. Good to get it all done. But then we've got the maps, and one thing that stood out was like the big choice in the race. And this came on leg 3, the 155k pack run. And so, you know, we're scratching our heads before the race has even begun because, you know, there's no, like I said, there's no marshals on GODZONE. There's no arrows pointing the way. There's no tape marking the right trail. In fact, there isn't trails in most of the trekking stages. We get given a map, and there's essentially 2 points, and it's just you've got to get from one to the next one. And they're like, however you want to get there, up to you. Go for it. So this is in Wilken. and this is a pretty remote part of Wilken. And basically, we had to get from this top bit to this bottom part, and there seemed to be two kind of choices. It was either go around the coast, or go over the Red Hills down here. And the toss-up was that if you went around the coast, we could kind of like look on Google or whatever. There's about 20 extra Ks, which we thought sounded like quite a lot. However, if you go over the Red Hills, we estimated it was like maybe 1,600, 1,700 meters of vert. So it was like 20 Ks or 1,700 meters of vert. Pick your poison. It's tough. Ultimately, we just thought, oh, that looks more interesting. So we just we just went for it. The other thing, the weird thing is actually before the race, you have the opportunity to just Google, like, who's been there before. Turns out lots of people have been around the coast. We found one trip report going over the top. But hey, if one person can do it, it's possible, right? So we thought, let's go for it. So we made it. We decided to go for the mountains. We made it through that. But a bit further on in the same leg, so this is still part of this 155k catcraft leg. We were carrying, enough food for probably 3 days. We're carrying all this compulsory gear, tents, sleeping bags, wet weather gear, basically full tramping bags. And we're racing. Then we get to what I call the crux of the entire race, basically. And this kind of made a, was a make or break for a lot of the teams. So people didn't necessarily know this at the time, but it's whether they would end up finishing the race. And to set the scene here, we've just come over the Red Hills. We got dark zone on the river. We had a lovely sleep for about 6 hours. We've come cruising down the Pike River, some of you might be familiar with. And then we've gone on a beautiful walk on the Hollywood Trail, which is like the nicest piece of trail that you've ever walked on. It's like a pavement. We get to this checkpoint here, checkpoint 5, at about 2:30 or so in the afternoon. And the guy at the checkpoint says, just so you know, there's a heavy rain warning forecast for Wilken for the next 12 hours. I'm like, brilliant. And we know that we have to get to checkpoint 6. So this is all information to give you. Yeah, from checkpoint 5 to checkpoint 6. And this is up on Haast. I know some of you are familiar with this. Andy, I think, talked about this 5 passes in a trip. Thank you, Ryan. And this was a bit that kind of made everyone a little bit nervous beforehand as well, because everyone had been Googling the routes, but no one had any record of anyone going up and down here. So we're like, oh man. All right, we'll see how this goes. So it's about 3 p.m. When we make it to the beginning of this this climb. It's kind of not super clear here, but essentially it's the Hollywood Valley down here, and you come up Hidden Falls Creek, and then up onto Park Pass. So this is all just, there's no trails around here. And the next 12 hours are probably the 12 hardest hours of the entire race. And it was a bit like everything that could make it more difficult made it, happen. So 3 p.m. we start along. About 1 hour later, we just sort of bush bashing through some thick scrub. It starts just pouring with rain, and it wouldn't stop pouring with rain for another 15 hours or so. It then you know, it takes a few hours to probably get to about here. Then it gets dark. And then we start traversing across this area here, and it's like steep country, just and thick bush. So every step is like a mission. You know, you're like proper bush bashing, and in some pretty dodgy positions as well. There's like field everything's wet, it's slippery, it's dark, and we're thinking, this is real. This is yeah, you have to look after yourself in this place because, you know, there's no aid stations in here. Eventually we kind of drop down into the river valley here. Oh, the river valley, that'll be easier. And it turns out it's basically like a gorge. I don't have a lot of photos from this part actually. I don't have any photos in general. But it's completely dark, you can't see anything. And then we get down to the river, it's a gorge, there's like water flowing over these like waterfalls. You constantly back up into the bush, around things, backtracking. It's slow. We're probably going maybe 500 meters an hour. And then we kind of eventually just kind of fight our way up to here. It's about 3 AM and we're like, all right, we've had a big day, we'll probably get a couple of hours sleep. So we get the tent out just before this flight up to Park Pass, and then everything gets just soaked. Like, we're already completely soaking wet. We've got all our like wet weather gear on, it's just completely soaked. Get the tent out, tent's now soaked. Get the sleeping bags out, sleeping bags are now soaked because we're soaked from getting our sleeping bags. Everything's wet. And then like 2 hours later, we're like, we gotta go, we gotta get up. And it's like 5 AM in the morning. It's still dark, it's still pouring with rain. Nothing had improved the situation. And we had to put like a bunch of cold clothes back on. So why did we go to sleep? Like I say, yeah, this whole section's about 8 kilometers. We started here at 3 PM. We took a sleep here at 3 AM. Slept for a couple of hours. Took about a couple of hours to climb up. Apparently there's a path here. Didn't find it until right near the top. So that took another 2.5 hours, 3 hours. This whole 15 hours maybe to get about 8 or 9 Ks, or so 9 or 10 Ks. Yeah, it was pretty tough. And so that was us doing it at a reasonable pace. A lot of the other teams had big bites here and were there, you know, in there for a day or so, which completely put them behind the 8 ball. So from that point forward, that took everyone longer than everyone thought. So from that point forward, we were chasing the clock, as I say. We get to they have some cutoff points, but what we didn't know is that because this had taken everyone much longer than they thought, they introduced a new cutoff time halfway through the stage. And so we actually only arrived to the cutoff point at about 6 PM, and they introduced a new cutoff point at 8 PM, which is like the kind of leading time. So we got ourselves together after about 3 days in the bush, and we had to kind of like refocus our mind. We're going for a bike ride now, okay, jump on the bikes. And we left with about half an hour to spare before the cutoff. If you miss one of these cutoffs, they actually just kind of, they do what they call short coursing, and they just push you further on the course. So if you miss this one, they skip out stage 4 and 5, and they start you on stage 6. So it's kind of, yeah, you sign up for this thing, you want to do the whole thing, you know? But this is a breakdown of the time that we had to spare throughout the race. And the dashes just, there wasn't a cutoff, so we didn't worry. And half an hour to spare, stage 5, 3.5 hours to spare. This picture is coming into the end of stage 6. And I've got here 0 hours to spare, because we actually got into the transition 1 hour before the finish. but the time is actually like when you leave the transition. So we took that full hour and left on the time that we had to leave. And this is at the end of the 170k bike ride of hell. And we went from boiling hot to freezing cold to boiling hot again. And this is finishing in central Otago, which is a world away at this point from 12 hours bush bashing in the wet beyond the bush. But this shows some of the variety that we kind of came across as we went across the island. This is actually a picture from the second trek in the Erie Mountains, where we were also chasing the clock, but we did pretty well on the trek, so we came in 3.5 hours spare on the cut-off there. Sleep and feet. I feel like everyone asked about this, so I thought I'd include something. I just got this photo actually. I didn't get a picture of my feet, but I think everyone's feet looked kind of similar, and this is what happens when you have wet feet for a long time and you don't do much about it. And even when we thought we'd be able to keep our feet dry, we couldn't. For example, we're on a 170k bike ride, and we're like, brilliant, feet dry for 24 hours, or however long it's going to take us. The bike ride went up and down into the Nevis Valley. I don't know if anyone's been down the Nevis Valley, but there's about 100 fords on that road. So we just had wet feet on the bike, wet feet on the walks, wet feet when you're paddling, just wet feet. One thing we did do is, usually when we do things like the SK and everything, I don't know, I feel like we can kind of get away with it. Like, you want to look after your feet. But you get like a blister or something, and it's a bit of rubbing. You get to the end of 24 hours and you're like, oh, that hurts. But like, then you kind of take your shoes and socks off and, take a few days off or whatever. Here you're like, if you get to the end of the 155k pack raft and you can't walk, you've got a long way in the race to go. Like, your feet matter a lot. One thing we'd do to try and dry them out is we went to sleep. This is like something that I've only encountered here. We like dried them as best we could, and then we had a plastic bag of talcum powder, and we put our feet into the talcum powder, like wiggled them about, and then took them out so that they got kind of like dried out by the powder and stuff. And everyone on this race seems to use this thing called, there's lots of different names for it, but like Gurney goo or Parma jizz was another one. And it's like this combo, this like magical combo of like Vass, like some aloe vera, basically something to like lubricate, something to like make your feet kind of resist the water a little bit, and then some like beeswax to get some antibacterial stuff. Yeah, it's real gross. Sleep. We also didn't do heaps of sleeping, but we did sleep every day. Day two, a little asterisk next to this, is because that was a bit of an enforced sleep. The rivers often have like a dark zone, so you can't paddle if it gets dark. So we had a night. Like you can walk down the side of the river, but it turns out it's really slow to walk down the side of the river. It's really fast to paddle. So it's much better to get some sleep and then knock it out in the morning. The only sleep that we sort of regretted was day one, 3 hours. Set our alarm for one. We were like, oh, let's have a 1 hour sleep because we're hardcore. And then slept with the alarm straight away. 3 hours later, we got up. Oh, shit. It's day one of GODZONE. You can't even do it. Yeah. The 4 hour sleep there was a bit of desperation after 2 rather short nights of sleep. Spinners. They're just like, nothing seemed to come easy in the race. And like, there's just a lot of spinners.
every leg has something that would like throw a little bit in the mix. Even getting to the start, we had like a good buffer to get to the start. It was roadworks. We left ourselves like an hour. We got there. We're like frantically. The race started with a pack draft. We're frantically pumping up the pack drafts, running to the start line. What else happened? On stage, even the stages that look easy. The stage 2 was a 19 or 20k bike ride. But then they're like, oh no, you've got to carry your pack rafting gear on your bike. So we're carrying like 15k packs on your back, and then I don't know, the last kayaking stage. Some of them were some of these spinners were like self-imposed, some of them were by the organisers. I had, in my tiredness, I wear contact lenses, and I'd forgotten a spare contact lens, or I bought one spare. So in the morning I chucked the contact lens in. I was like, sweet, where's the other one? Oh crap! And it's like dark, and I was supposed to be steering the kayak with one eye in the river. Nothing came easy. But just a few reflections from the race. This is like a real adventure, you know. It's not. It's probably even a full sausage adventure. maybe 2 actually. I'd even say maybe 2. Yeah, 7 days is probably 2. But yeah, there's some moments out there when you're like, you've got to take care of yourself. You know, you've got to make those decisions. You kind of get into that mindset that you're in a race, but then you kind of like stop yourself sometimes. You're like, oh, I'm on the edge of a cliff. Do we need to go down there, or should we just go around? You know, like, there's no one's going to come find you for a while. The second one here, don't let small problems turn big ones. That was true for like a lot of things in the race, but it's kind of like I don't know, a few of these things were like good lessons for taking away from GODZONE. Things like your feet, you know, you don't want to let any nibbles or anything turn into something bigger. You don't want to the mechanical on your bike go stray, because if you're in the middle of a 170k bike ride and you've got an unrepairable bike, you've got a long walk out, or your race is completely over, and like you really don't want that. But that also related to like the teamwork aspect of it, you know, the relationships. You like don't want to let something small boil up into something big. Lucky that didn't happen. We're really kind of like quite an open team, but definitely, yeah, you're spending quite a lot of time in close proximity with a small group of people, so you want to make sure that you don't the small things in the big ones. And the last one here, it can always get better. And this one was a tough one to get your head around, because you know we definitely had a few moments, and you're 5 days into an 8-day race, and you think, I'm bloody tired here. There's no way that I can like be less tired if we carry on. And that's the thing, we're constantly on the go. You're either moving, eating, on the go. You're doing transitions where your head's just like exploding because you got to remember everything you got to take. You're always doing something. So you think, how could this possibly, I'm like completely smashed. How could this possibly get any better? But it does. You know, you go like 5 hours later, you forget that you were in like a really dark place before. And I think lots of people will experience this on the S-Ks. You can push through these things. And that's pretty cool. Cool that they keep that in the back. But yeah, just for a couple of last things for the sad things out there. This was the breakdown. So 14 teams finished GODZONE this year. Just like out of a about 60 or 70. There wasn't many. It was that ruck section I talked about, waxed basically like most of the field out of the race. But of the teams that did finish, we came in here. But there was a huge variety of ages. So Godzone's not just about the super experienced folk or the super young folk. There's like everywhere in between. Yeah, the red here is the female age, and the blue is the male. Yeah, Godzone's for everyone. And just the last little thing, this one just shows the like length of all stages. So there's 10 stages, but the ones we identified, it was pretty much as we thought. Those were like the majority of our time. This big one is stage 3, which took everyone way longer than we thought. This one's the second strict stage, which also took a long time. And then this one's that really long bike ride. Yeah, shit doesn't look so long compared to that one. Anyway. Thanks everyone. Well done.
Thanks, Hamish. Sign up with that one next year. Just get the lead pass for that or your time off. So now I'll do the Patupaiarehe Award. Greg's going to hand that out. Tim Sutton's done an amazing job at carving the inscription into the spear there. He's got a little thing to read out about it. And it's the award for the most amazing epic endurance event in the Tararuas that year. Oh, there's a shut.
Cool. So, thanks, guys. I'm very much not going to be awarding this. I'm going to be awarding it on behalf of Tim, who's at home with coronavirus and is in a terrible way. So, okay. So, this is a speech from Tim. So these are his words, not mine. And I'm just going to basically read them out for him. Because I've done lots of stupid things for that guy. Okay, so during a recent tramp with my dad, we got talking about the SK and what it was like to be there in the early days, taking on the mighty main range as a run. When I first set out from Putara in the summer of 2015, there was no playbook on how to tackle this monster made of hills solo and unsupported. It simply had not been done. 3 parties had gone under 24 hours before. Colin Rolfe in 1995, with his history-making first sub-24 traverse, Lawrence Pidcock and Chris Swallow, who picked up where Colin left off and breathed new life into the challenge, and the team of Matt Bixley and Grant Guys, who showed that it could be done unsupported. In a lot of ways, I feel very privileged to have been there in those pioneering days. Records were there for the taking, but more importantly, firsts, as records will eventually fall, but firsts last a little longer. 2015 and 2016 were a couple of golden years for firsts on the main range SK. Lou Beckinsale, who paired with Al Shelton, became the first female to crack the 24-hour barrier. Jean Beaumont, first female solo and unsupported. Paul Helm, first super vet. Just about every attempt in this busy period on the range was a success, a testament to the deep strength of the local mountain running community. Dave Allen also went solo and unsupported, while Chris Swallow rewrote the record books, taking the time in under 20 hours for the first time, only to have his time of 19 hours and 20 minutes shattered by Sam McCutcheon and Danny Garrett in the time that still stands today, 18 hours and 15 minutes. A truly remarkable feat. A couple of years later, Greg Clark gorged himself in the hills, becoming the first to complete all 3 routes in a season. Things were going gangbusters. With records getting pushed into realms of the elite, and most of the first slate came to, it was time to think bigger. If there's one thing about completing a main range, it pushes out the walls of what you believe you're capable of. After 2 unsuccessful attempts in the space of 2 years, I was finally able, in late 2017, to fulfill my dream of becoming the first person to complete the Tararua 1500s in a single push. The following year, I was humbled and privileged to be the first recipient of a new award, the Patupaiarehe Award. Brainchild of Chris Swallow, this award was to honour achievements above and beyond a main range SK for extraordinary human endeavour in the Tararua range, a challenge to dream big. Chris had commissioned a local carver to come up with a piece to be presented. Devastatingly, we lost our good mate and inspiration in a blow that sent massive ripples through the many communities that he had enriched. As a result, the carving never eventuated. Wanting to acknowledge Chris's mana and the effect of his enthusiasm had on the growth of mountain running in the Tararua, I headed to the workshop to create a small token of appreciation to give back to the community that has given me so much. Hopefully in time, it will become a taonga as more people daring to dream big add their marks to it. With its roots firmly in the Wellington mountain running community, we have asked Chris's wife Jen and his two daughters to act as Kaitoke of the award between local recipients. A perfect fit and a thank you for lending us their lab. Things have come a long way since Chris and Lawrence reinvigorated the SK. The main range club now numbers in the mid-30s. The rugged beauty of Tarn has been seen in a day by many, and the mighty valleys have been battered a little flattered by dozens of pairs of feet. The Patupaiarehe Award has also grown a list of names. In 2019, Chris Swallow's name was joined by Marie Goldfinch, first ever to complete a double SK with her inspiring double valleys, and shortly after by Michael Stewart with a feat which to most was inconceivable, a double main range. In 2021, Jean Beaumont became Kaitoke of the award as the first person to complete a 1500 as an SK in a single push. And Michael Stewart added another koru to the taiha when he signalled his intent by completing a second double SK via Tarn and the valleys. His first attempt at something even more audacious. There are only two people on this planet who are in a position to know what a non-stop double SK feels like. One of them now knows what it's like to complete 3. This year, it's with great pleasure for his incredible, mind-bending triple SK, we present Michael Stewart with the Patupaiarehe Award.
Beautiful. Yeah, honoured, so honoured, and once again just so glad to have it done. I guess that's free. That's the triple. I'm done. I'm done. And I look forward to seeing more people join the double club, and I can't wait to see the triple go sub 24 all 3. Someone's going to do it. Yeah. Interesting times.
Legend, mate. That's great. So we are nearing the end of the evening. It's been like a couple of hours, some brilliant speeches. The mountain energy in the room is strong. I can sense it like a force. For the next season, planning the adventures. Maybe there's not enough time, everyone has to go to bed, but usually we get the maps out and a couple of beers, and then the next thing is being planned. Maybe the season is over. Some say the season is never over. Some say the season's over. It begins again in November, I think it is. So, is it never over? Who's going to go out there at the moment? Too dark.
I remember 100 was quite low.
Okay.
It's about 170 or oh, it might not be today.
Yes.
170.
So what we'll do is have the official awarding of the main range new 2 members this year, who have achieved the main range in under 24 hours, which is the main goal of this whole night. There are now 33 members. We've had 2 new ones. I'll just wait a quick mention of an honourable mention of Liz Palmer and Sean Martin in 31 hours. They did it in full push. They didn't make it sub 24 hours, but that was an effort.
you want to do a big mission at the weekend? He just jumped on board or something. It's amazing that he actually could do it. But that just, I mean, anyone that gets to the end in any amount of time is amazing once you've done it, because you know what the route's like. I'll say the first person here, unfortunately Chris couldn't come. It's Chris Sanson from Palmerston North. He's a real mountain man. He hasn't been able to make it tonight. But yeah, he's come down to do the Yarring Undulator, a couple of races of mine, and you always see his posts on Facebook. He's either in the Rohini's or somewhere down south. He did it in 22:14, so a round of applause for Chris Sanson. Joe can come up here to award we've got a certificate, you see, so light pod grand round, and we'll get Chris's, well, you can come out, because you're the Joe, I want to tell the gravel us in the mountain runners hand them out. I think he told me how many SKs he did last week. He said, I used to get worried about doing an SK the night before, now I feel like it's Christmas. He said it's your words, mate. He's not scared anymore, the SK.
He's done as many SKs as the Anhead Christmas.
Yeah. So the person that is here today, and another fantastic quote I remember, he came up on Tuesday night and I said, hey, well done on the SK, and he goes, yeah, it's a really great day. Yeah, nice day, isn't it? This man is hardcore, you know. This is like what he does at the weekend. But I know he's done lots of stuff in Canada, and he's one of the really good guys and one of the young guys coming through. And it's great attitude and just a solid Tuesday nighter. It's Aaron Whiteford. That's something if you want.
Oh, thanks everyone. Yeah. Don't have to. Thanks.
So two successful members to make 33, and yeah, so that effectively ends the night. So if you are watching this online or you take inspiration, there's lots of good mountain knowledge out there you can touch base with, and think about any mission you're going to do next season, or a winter SK if you're really adventurous. But yeah, well done everyone. Thanks for coming. So that's the end of the night.